Happy Monday. Happy Class A. What's up, everyone? I hope everybody's having a good start to their week or a good whenever this video happens across your lap, your eyeballs, maybe both. So, what's up? Let me check my sound real quick. Make sure it's working just like we like, which is fully and completely the same way we hope to achieve our knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel. Right? We didn't forget about that, of course. We're still working on that nice and hard, aren't we? Of course we are, because you're all top tier, top tier magicians and top tier aspiring magicians at the very least, if you're not already a magician. Okay, so sounds working. Very good. Okay, so today we're back to Class A. We're back to Karma Yoga. That other one, though, Class B, has been pretty interesting. Very interesting, as a matter of fact. How to understand your Bible. So we'll keep this going for a little bit. I'm going to take a look at something, though. So today we might end up doing another longer-ish stream because I could probably finish this one in our 3 days of Class A this week, but then that would mean I need to have at least one stream that's a bit longer. Because, yeah, this one we're on now, let's see, that's about 30 pages. Then, yeah, so the shortest option I have would be if I do 2 chapters today, that would be about 30 pages. Because then the next 2 chapters after that are over 20 pages. And so 40 is more than 20 for any of you who aren't very good at math. I think most of you probably are, though. Or we carry it into next week. We just still do a chapter a day. So then today would actually be a bit shorter stream because this chapter today, about 14 pages. So that's not terrible. Well, we'll get to reading ASAP, and then we will just see how it flows and how it goes, I guess. And Kurt Ennis, welcome in, says, "What are you doing?" Well, right now I'm yapping a little bit, but in a minute I'm going to get to reading. And welcome into everybody else just coming in. So, yeah, if we're going to have a little bit longer one today, then I probably don't want to yap very much. I probably don't want to yap way too long. We better do our tarot pull. We better start our music up and pull a card, huh? Happy Monday. I don't think I said too, this is Jay Baldale. Welcome to my channel. If you're new and you end up liking this comment, then please hit a like, share, and subscribe. At the very least, a like on the video would be helpful. But, whatever. All right. So it's Monday. We're back to Class A. That's all been said already. So we'll do a tarot pull, though. We'll see what our energy is for this Monday. We'll see how the cards want us to feel about this, that, or the other. What a time to be alive, huh? It's probably always felt that way, I bet, a bit. That's like one of my favorite things about the show Sandman. If none of you have watched that, well, it's a great show, so that's one I would recommend spending the time watching. But in the first season, there's a part where the Sandman and his sister go to like a bar and they see a human there, and he's talking about, well, they see a bunch of humans there, but one of them is talking about how great it would be to be immortal. And because him and his sister are a god and a goddess, that they're like, oh yeah, he says to her, oh yeah, right, he would be begging for death. And she says, well, let's find out. And so he grants this guy the immortality, and he agrees to meet him back at the bar every 100 years. And what I love about that episode in particular is every 100 years he goes back to meet this guy. The bars maybe changed a tiny bit, the people have changed a little bit, but they're just saying the same old crap. They're just always saying the same old crap. Oh, the end is near. The end is near. This was the prophecy. This was the all of that type of stuff. So, like they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same, huh? All right, so let's split the deck and see what this has got to say. Now that feels like a court card. Feels fiery. Well, I was right about the fire. Ten of Wands again. See what I mean about this deck? I'll get the same cards over and over. Well, that's all right. It's all right. Obviously, it's because we need to be taking into consideration what they have to say. So Ten of Wands, and here we see these Tibetan daggers again, the Dorjes, however it's said, Dorjes. I accidentally said G the last time, but it's a J. So if you want to look into those more. And then the four wands crossing over on each side. Well, maybe we could see that as our four elements and the masculine and feminine components to those elements. These two daggers here, I don't know, being the main masculine and feminine. Maybe that's a way you could read it. That's not really the way I'm reading it right now, though. What I'm reading right now is that there is a lot of fire going on. That's what's been reported to me already today. The goddess told me she's already had some fiery folks she's encountered out in the world. You hop on social media, and oh boy, lots of chaos going on. And that's that Saturnian energy we see here in this card. We see that Saturn, and we see it in the lowest sphere of Malkuth. But we are on the highest tree. We're in that archetypal realm. And this time around, I am kind of getting that vibe off the card of feeling overwhelmed, that oppression. So maybe you all, even though it's the beginning of a new week, are already feeling like overwhelmed. You're feeling that oppression. You're feeling like that spiritual element of fire is getting spread really, really thin. I don't know. Maybe that's what we'll find if we try to do a longer read today. We'll feel that our fire is feeling spread kind of thin. We'll see. All right then. Well, Saturn in Sagittarius. Perhaps our focus. Our focus is just so diminished. Is that how you're feeling today? Maybe it is. Whenever you come across this. Huh. Okay. Well, that's that. This deck always wants me to see the same things over and over again. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm not paying attention? Does that mean that we as a group are not paying attention? Perhaps. Perhaps. All right. So today we are back to Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. I said we're back to Class A. I don't remember if I said that part yet or not. Probably did. Maybe didn't. And we're going to be on to a very interesting chapter, which is going to be we help ourselves, not the world. Well, this might just be what some people need to hear. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and get to it. So, chapter What was this one? Five, maybe? I think we're on five. We help ourselves, not the world. Before he doesn't number them, so I got to try to just keep track of how many we've done if we're gonna say a number on them. So I think it was the fifth one. Anyway, we help ourselves, not the world. Before considering further how devotion to duty helps us in our spiritual progress, let me place before you in a brief compass another aspect of what we in India mean by karma. In every religion, there are three parts: philosophy, mythology, and ritual. See, that's what I said. That's what I've been saying. You can understand the philosophy all you want. You can even understand the mythology to some extent, but that ritual is important. At least up until a certain point. I get it. Everybody wants to skip ahead. Everybody wants to put in their cheat codes and say that and like in video games so that you don't have to actually put in the work. Well, it's like my dad always used to say, cheaters never prosper. Philosophy, of course, is the essence of every religion. Mythology explains and illustrates it by means of the more or less legendary lives of great men, stories and fables of wonderful things, and so on. Ritual gives to that philosophy a still more concrete form so that everyone may grasp it. Ritual is, in fact, concretized philosophy. See, that's what I said. That's what I've been saying. Thanks, Swami V. This ritual is karma. It is necessary in every religion because it is necessary in every religion. There you go, every single one. So, yep, you might think that you're above and beyond and all of that, but because most of us cannot understand abstract spiritual things until we grow much spiritually. It is easy for men to think that they can understand anything, but when it comes to practical experience, they find that abstract ideas are often very hard to comprehend. Therefore, symbols are of great help, and we cannot dispense with the symbolical method of putting things before us. From time immemorial, symbols have been used by all kinds of religions. In one sense, we cannot think but in symbols. Words themselves are symbols of thought. In another sense, everything in the universe may be looked upon as a symbol. The whole universe is a symbol, and God is the essence behind. This kind of symbology is not simply the creation of man. It is not that a certain people belonging to a religion sit down together and think out certain symbols and bring them into existence out of their own minds. The symbols of religion have a natural growth. Otherwise, why is it that certain symbols are associated with certain ideas in the mind of almost everyone? Certain symbols are universally prevalent. Many of you may think that the cross first came into existence as a symbol in connection with the Christian religion, but as a matter of fact, it existed before Christianity was, before Moses was born, before the Vedas were given out, before there was any human record of human things. The cross may be found to have been in existence among the Aztecs and the Phoenicians. Every race seems to have had the cross. Again, the symbol of the crucified Savior, of a man crucified upon a cross, appears to have been known to almost every nation. The circle has been a great symbol throughout the world. Then there is the most universal of all symbols, the swastika. Uh oh. Uh oh. I know most of you already aren't going to get yourself all excited over that, but hey, some people out there probably haven't heard it yet. At one time, it was thought that the Buddhists carried it all over the world with them, but it has been found out that ages before Buddhism, it was used among nations. Oh, and shoot, World War II probably hadn't happened yet at the time Swami V was putting this knowledge out there yet. Oh, goodness gracious. Otherwise, it would be very worthwhile to hear what he has to say about it, but maybe he does. I don't remember. I don't think so, though. In old Babylon and in Egypt, it was to be found. What does this show? All these symbols could not have been purely conventional. There must be some reason for them, some natural association between them and the human mind. Language is not the result of convention. It is not that people ever agreed to represent certain ideas by certain words. There never was an idea without a corresponding word or a word without a corresponding idea. Ideas and words are in their nature inseparable. The symbols to represent ideas may be sound symbols or color symbols. Deaf and dumb people have to think with other than sound symbols. Every thought in the mind has a form as its counterpart. This is called in Sanskrit philosophy namarupa, name and form. It is as impossible to create by convention a system of symbols as it is to create a language. In the world's ritualistic symbols, we have an expression of the religious thought of humanity. It is easy to say that there is no use of rituals and temples and all such paraphernalia. Every baby says that in modern times. But it must be easy for all to see that those who worship inside a temple are, in many respects, different from those who will not worship there. Therefore, the association of particular temples, rituals, and other concrete forms with particular religions has a tendency to bring into the minds of the followers of those religions the thoughts for which those concrete things stand as symbols. And it is not wise to ignore rituals and symbology altogether. The study and practice of these things naturally a part of karma yoga. See, Swami V, even he's telling you. So if you don't want to hear it from me, well, you definitely should want to hear it from him. Because he, as I've said already, he certainly is or was what your favorite YouTuber or TikToker or Instagrammer pretends to be. There are many other aspects of this science of work. One among them is to know the relation between thought and word and what can be achieved by the power of the word. In every religion, the power of the word is recognized, so much so that in some of them, creation itself is said to have come out of the word. Right. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. The external aspect of the thought of God is the word. And as God thought and willed before he created, creation came out of the word, out of the word. In this stress and hurry of our materialistic life, our nerves lose sensibility and become hardened. The older we grow, the longer we are knocked about in the world, the more callous we become, and we are apt to neglect things that even happen persistently and prominently around us. Human nature, however, asserts itself sometimes, and we are led to inquire into and wonder at some of these common occurrences. Wondering thus is the first step in the acquisition of light. Apart from the higher philosophic and religious value of the word, we may see that sound symbols play a prominent part in the drama of human life. I am talking to you. I am not touching you. The pulsations of the air caused by my speaking go into your ear. They touch your nerves and produce effects in your minds. You cannot resist this. What can be more wonderful than this? One man calls another a fool, and at this the other stands up and clenches his fist and lands a blow on his nose. Look at the power of the word. There is a woman weeping and miserable. Shoot, I saw a good example of the power of the word just earlier today. There is a woman weeping and miserable. Another woman comes along and speaks to her a few gentle words. The doubled up frame of the weeping woman becomes straightened at once. Her sorrow is gone, and she already begins to smile. Think of the power of words. They are a great force in higher philosophy as well as in common life. Day and night, we manipulate this force without thought and without inquiry. To know the nature of this force and to use it well is also a part of karma yoga. Absolutely. Our duty to others means helping others, doing good to the world. Why should we do good to the world? Apparently to help the world, but really to help ourselves. We should always try to help the world. That should be the highest motive in us. But if we consider well, we find that the world does not require our help at all. This world was not made that you or I should come and help it. I once read a sermon in which it was said, all this beautiful world is very good because it gives us time and opportunity to help others. Yeah, and that makes me think of something else that I was listening to, where I was listening to a talk about a particular Swami who they were watching like a sporting event, and he saw the grass stain on one of the athletes' shirts, and so he thought to say to the little group that was with him how, oh, that reminds me, I used to have a green body once. I was a part of a planet where we had these green translucent bodies, or maybe I don't, he said, I don't know if it was a, well, maybe it was a planet, maybe it was a spiritual realm, but then one of them thought to ask him a question more about life and the importance of life. I mean, I'm butchering this a little bit. I don't remember the exact verbatim at this part, but what I do remember for sure was then uh, one of these questions basically prompted him to get real quiet for a minute, real serious, and to say that he remembers having taken all kinds of different births, all different types of lives, different planets. So there's your star, your little star seed, and all that, kinda. And how here in the human incarnation, the planet Earth, all of that is the only place where we have the opportunity to truly gain perfection and realization. So when they talk about how rare this is, how precious of a gift this is, and all of that, hopefully that lets that sink in just a little bit. I mean, you can not believe it. You can chuck it right out the window, but all right. So anyway, he goes on to say, apparently this is a very beautiful sentiment, but is it not a blasphemy to say that the world needs our help? We cannot deny that there is much misery in it. To go out and help others is therefore the best thing we can do. Although in the long run, we shall find that helping others is only helping ourselves. And actually, I need to do a little highlighting, so I should have done that while I yapped a little bit. That's all right. Why should we do good to the world? Apparently, to help the world, but really to help ourselves. As a boy, I had some white mice. They were kept in a little box in which there were little wheels. And when the mice tried to cross the wheels turned and turned, and the mice never got anywhere. So it is with the world and our helping it. The only help is that we get moral exercise. This world is neither good nor evil. Each man manufactures a world for himself. If a blind man begins to think of the world, it is either as soft or hard, or as cold or hot. We are a mass of happiness or misery. We have seen that hundreds of times in our lives. As a rule, the young are optimistic and the old pessimistic. Uh, and hey, One True Goddess, what's up? Welcome in. Hope you're having a good start to your week, a good Monday. aside from the chaos that's already found its way to you. Only hope is that we get moral exercise. And for those of you who were tapped in on Travis's handbook for the new paradigm study, that's a lot of what that book had to say too. Okay, there we are. The young have life before them. The old complain their day is gone. Hundreds of desires which they cannot fulfill struggle in their hearts. Both are foolish, nevertheless. Life is good or evil according to the state of mind in which we look at it. It is neither by itself. Fire by itself is neither good nor evil. When it keeps us warm, we say, "How beautiful is fire." When it burns our fingers, we blame it. Still, in itself, it is neither good nor bad. According as we use it, it produces in us the feeling of good or bad. So also is this world. It is perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Travis, if you end up catching this on the replay, that's why I think it would be wise for us to have the chat about there are no enemies. Because it is a pretty good teaching. But I think we should just make it that much better through a conversation. But hey, you know how to find me. By perfection is meant that it is perfectly fitted to meet its ends. We may all be perfectly sure that it will go on beautifully well without us, and we need not bother our heads wishing to help it. Yet we must do good. The desire to do good is the highest motive power we have. If we know all the time that it is a privilege to help others, do not stand on a high pedestal and take 5 cents in your hand and say, "Here, my poor man," but be grateful that the poor man is there, so that by making a gift to him, you are able to help yourself. Yeah, this takes some work and some practice. So that's why these yogas, that's why I'm bringing you a lot of the information I have. Is because a lot of it is not just philosophy, a lot of it has practical aspects, but you have to actually apply them to your life. So one way I go about doing this in the service industry is obviously there's people who don't tip or people who tip really, really crappily. And I have to really do this exact thing right here. Because one, we don't know all the workings of karma, you know. We don't know we really don't know, and it would probably and we would have a short circuit trying to figure it out. So when some of these things happen, you can understand this exact thing. You can have a gratitude that you were still able to help out your fellow human being rather than being so upset that they didn't tip or they tipped in a very bad way. But it's hard. It takes work. It takes time. Actually, this one right here too. Had all this. That's pretty good. Got a fresh highlighter. Can you tell? It's nice and bold and bright. The other one was drying up. Although sometimes I hate when they're too fresh because then you can see it's kind of getting it wet right here. But what else are you gonna do? I used to underline in books, but then I found that coming back and reading them, well, it reads cleaner if you've been highlighting. It's just a little inside baseball, I guess you could call it. All right, it is not the receiver that is blessed, but the giver. Be thankful that you are allowed to exercise your power of benevolence and mercy in the world and thus become pure and perfect. All good acts tend to make us pure and perfect. What can we do at best? Build a hospital, make roads, or erect charity asylums? We may organize a charity and collect 2 or 3 millions of dollars. Build a hospital with 1 million, with the second give balls and drink champagne, and of the third let the officers steal half, and leave the rest finally to reach the poor. But that's not very good. That's not very good. But what are all these? One mighty wind in 5 minutes can break all your buildings up. What shall we do then? One volcanic eruption may sweep all our roads and hospitals and cities and buildings. Oh yeah, 100% Swami. Add this to the. Yeah, and if you're somebody who didn't read Handbook for the New Paradigm, well, I would highly suggest purchasing that book. You can find it on Amazon. It's actually a pretty cheap one. I swear it was like, I think like not even $10. I want to say it was like just under 10. But I have it was a couple years ago now. Wild how time can fly when you're having fun. That one, I feel it syncs up with a lot of this very well. And you can find a book study that our wonderful friend Travis Magus did over on his channel of that book. So if you enjoy reading along with somebody giving teachings and commentary, then that's where you can find it. Otherwise, if you just would rather read and not have any yap interrupting you, well, you want to pick up that book and read it for sure. Let us give up all this foolish talk of doing good to the world. It is not waiting for your or my help, yet we must work and constantly do good, because it is a blessing to ourselves. That is the only way we can become perfect. No beggar whom we have helped has ever owed a single cent to us. We owe everything to him because he has allowed us to exercise our charity on him. It is entirely wrong to think that we have done or can do good to the world, or to think that we have helped such and such people. It is a foolish thought, and all foolish thoughts bring misery. We think that we have helped some man and expect him to thank us, and because he does not, unhappiness comes to us. Why should we expect anything in return for what we do? Be grateful to the man you help, and think of him as God. It is not a great privilege to be allowed to worship God by helping our fellow men. Is it not a great privilege to be allowed to worship God by helping our fellow men? If we were really unattached, we should escape all this pain and vain expectation and could cheerfully do good work in the world. Never. Oh, you got it. You got it, girl. Nice. The cats were trying to get out. So they figured it out. Smart kitties. Okie doke. Never will unhappiness or misery come through work done without attachment. The world will go on with its happiness and misery through eternity. Dang. Is that what you were planning to do? Be miserable for all eternity? And see, so that's why I've gone on the rants I've gone on. That's why I've said the things I've said about these influencers and stuff out here. Because so a lot of them might talk a good game, a lot of them might have good sauce to spill, to share, however, whatever you do with the sauce, to put on your spaghetti. But most of them honestly are just playing a silly ego game. It's like Sri Ramana said, money shouldn't be a part of this because that will just turn your satsang into money song. Grateful to the man you help. Think of him as God. If we are really unattached, we should escape all this pain of vain expectation and could cheerfully do good work in the world. It's hard. It's hard. I've said it before, they don't call it the great work for nothing. And once your goddess says, this chapter is really humbling. Love it. Oh yeah, this whole book is really humbling. Swami V will do it to you. And in our other class, Manly P, he also said a lot of this same stuff, even though he was coming from a more Western lens. You can listen to some of his lectures, even in some of his books, where saying all the same type of stuff. There was a poor man who wanted some money, and somehow he had heard that if he could get a hold of a ghost, he might command him to bring money or anything else he liked. Oh, goodness gracious. So he was very anxious to get a hold of a ghost. He went about searching for a man who would give him a ghost, and at last he found a sage with great powers and besought his help. The sage asked him what he would do with a ghost. I want a ghost to work for me. Teach me how to get a hold of one, sir. I desire it very much, replied the man. But the sage said, don't disturb yourself. Go home. This is exactly what I've been saying about Goetia. This is why I just don't think that there should be all this hype about it, all this trend about it, all this, because I think that the majority of these people are just going to screw themselves up. And this is saying the exact same thing. The next day the man went again to the sage and began to weep and pray. Give me a ghost. I must have a ghost, sir, to help me. At last the sage was disgusted and said, take this charm, repeat this magic word, and a ghost will come, and whatever you say to him, he will do. But beware, they are terrible beings and must be kept continually busy. If you fail to give him work, he will take your life. The man replied, that is easy. I can give him work for all his life. Then he went to a forest, and after a long repetition of the magic word, a huge ghost appeared before him and said, I am a ghost. I have been conquered by your magic, but you must keep me constantly employed. The moment you fail to give me work, I will kill you. The man said, build me a palace. And the ghost said, it is done. The palace is built. Bring me money, said the man. Here is your money, said the ghost. Cut this forest down and build a city in its place. That is done, said the ghost. Anything more? Now the man began to be frightened and thought he could give him nothing more to do. He did everything in a trice. The ghost said, give me something to do or I will eat you up. The poor man could find no further occupation for him and was frightened. So he ran and ran at last reached the sage and said, oh, sir, protect my life. Ah, sheesh. The sage asked him what the matter was, and the man replied, I have nothing to give the ghost to do. Everything I tell him to do, he does in a moment, and he threatens to eat me up if I do not give him work. Just then the ghost arrived, saying, I'll eat you up. And he would have swallowed the man. The man began to shake and begged the sage to save his life. The sage said, I will find you a way out. Look at that dog with a curly tail. Draw your sword quickly and cut the tail off and give it to the ghost to straighten out. The man cut off the dog's tail and gave it to the ghost. Jeez. What the dog? The dog didn't deserve that. Cut off the tail and gave it to the ghost, saying, straighten that out for me. The ghost took it and slowly and carefully straightened it out. But as soon as he let it go, it instantly curled up again. Once more he laboriously straightened it out, only to find it again curled up as soon as he attempted to let go of it. Again he patiently straightened it out, but as soon as he let it go, it curled up again. So he went on for days and days until he was exhausted and said, I was never in such trouble before in my life. I am an old veteran ghost, but never before was I in such trouble. I will make you a compromise. I will make a compromise with you, he said to the man. You let me off, and I will let you keep all I have given you, and will promise not to harm you. The man was much pleased and accepted the offer gladly. And keep in mind that even if this is just a story, it's they don't tell like these Hindu stories are deep. They're based on some they're definitely based on some cosmic P. And so this guy, he had to go to the sage. He had to go get the sage's help. And so good, whatever. This world is like a dog's curly tail, and people have been striving to straighten it out for hundreds of years. But when they let it go, it has curled up again. How could it be otherwise? One must first know how to work without attachment, then one will not be a fanatic. When we know that this world is like a dog's curly tail and will never get straightened, we shall not become fanatics. If there were no fanaticism in the world, it would make much more progress than it does now. Yep. Or even maybe let's say maybe you've got some friends out there. You've really tried to help out. You've really tried to say, and that's why at a certain point I'm just like, rather than sound like a broken record, I'm just gonna give you what I've given you, and if it works, great. If not, well, it is what it is. Because you probably got a friend out there you really tried to help out one time. Maybe they were drinking real bad, and you were like, "Hey man, let's get you to stop drinking." And it was just a uphill climb the whole way just to find them at the top, still drinking. Sometimes it does work. Sometimes you are able to help get your loved ones straightened out. But for the most part, they have to straighten themselves out. Like we've already said on this particular class, this particular book read, that a lot of people really do just have to continue with their nonsense until they get so sick of their own nonsense. So maybe you're sick of your nonsense. Maybe you're ready to straighten out. Well, start applying karma yoga. Start doing Crowley's Libras. Start praying and invoking your holy guardian angel. Start doing bhakti. Start going to church again a little bit here and there. Goodness gracious, I'm telling you, a good, powerful church service, boy, oh boy. Especially if you are somebody who you consider yourself an occultist and you have put in a lot of study into symbolism and things like that. Oh yeah, it's real enjoyable. It is a mistake to think that fanaticism can make for the progress of mankind. On the contrary, it is a retarding element, creating hatred and anger and causing people to fight each other and making them unsympathetic. We think that whatever we do or possess is the best in the world, and what we do not do or possess is of no value. So always remember the instance of the curly tail of the dog whenever you have a tendency to become a fanatic. You need not worry or make yourself sleepless about the world. It will go on without you. Absolutely. Oh yeah, it's we see that time and time again. If you've encountered death in your life, which you probably have, then you see that exact thing. You have your little moment where you have your funeral and you mourn a little bit, but pretty quickly everything just goes about business as usual. When you have avoided fanaticism, then alone will you work well. It is the level-headed man, the calm man of good judgment and cool nerves, of great sympathy and love, who does good work and so does good to himself. The fanatic is foolish and has no sympathy. He can never straighten the world, nor himself become pure and perfect. Or even that reel, think about, okay, here's a good way to look at that too. Think about that reel that was going around, that clip of the person stopping those monks walking that are doing the big walk and trying to tell them how this is demonic, this is evil what you're doing, and all of that. He was trying to do this exact thing. He was trying to straighten out the dog's tail, and he was losing his mind about it. To recapitulate the chief points in today's lecture, first, we have to bear in mind that we are all debtors to the world, and the world does not owe us anything. It is a great privilege for all of us to be allowed to do anything for the world. In helping the world, we really help ourselves. The second point is that there is a God in this universe. It is not true that this universe is drifting and stands in need of help from you and me. God is ever present therein. He is undying and eternally active, and infinitely watchful. When the whole universe sleeps, he sleeps not. He is working incessantly. All the changes and manifestations of the world are his. Thirdly, we ought not to hate anyone. This world will always continue to be a mixture of good and evil. Our duty is to sympathize with the weak and to love even the wrongdoer. The world is a grand moral gymnasium wherein we have all to take exercise so as to become stronger and stronger spiritually. Fourthly, we ought not to be fanatics of any kind because fanaticism is opposed to love. You hear fanatics glibly saying, I do not hate the sinner, I hate the sin. But I am prepared to go any distance to see the face of that man who can really make a distinction between the sin and the sinner. It is easy to say so. If we can distinguish well between quality and substance, we may become perfect men. It is not easy to do this. And furthermore, the calmer we are and the less disturbed our nerves, the more shall we love and the better our work will be. All right, so that does it for that chapter. And I definitely am tempted to just go ahead and push forward. What time is it? That's not bad. Okay. Our duty, our duty is to sympathize with the weak and to love even the wrongdoer. Fanaticism is opposed to love. All right, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. It's about 20 more pages worth, so we'll probably have about an hour more of stream. Yeah, it's exactly 20. All right, well, let's just get on with it. Fine with me. It's a Monday anyway, so work's not going to be way too crazy. So this chapter, I think chapter 6 is non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. Just as every action that remains from us comes back to the, excuse me, just as every action that emanates from us comes back to us as reaction, even so our actions may act on other people and theirs on us. Perhaps all of you have observed it as a fact that when persons do evil actions, they become more and more evil. And when they begin to do good, they become stronger and stronger and learn to do good at all times. This intensification of the influence of action cannot be explained on any other ground than that we can act and react upon each other. To take an illustration from physical science, when I am doing a certain action, my mind may be said to be in a certain state of vibration. All minds which are in similar circumstances will have the tendency to be affected by my mind. If there are different musical instruments tuned alike in one room, all of you may have noticed that when one is struck, the others have the tendency to vibrate so as to give the same note. Oh yeah, this definitely will happen. For any of you who haven't experienced this, and this is also what Handbook for the New Paradigm was talking about. So all minds that have the same tension, so to say, will be equally affected by the same thought. Of course, this influence of thought on mind will vary according to distance and other causes, but the mind is always open to affection. Suppose I am doing an evil act. My mind is in a certain state of vibration, and all minds in the universe which are in a similar state have the possibility of being affected by the vibration of my mind. So, when I am doing a good action, my mind is in another state of vibration. And all minds similarly strung have the possibility of being affected by my mind. And this power of mind upon mind is more or less according as the force of the tension is greater or less. Following this simile further, it is quite possible that, just as light waves may travel for millions of years before they reach any object, so thought waves may also travel hundreds of years before they meet an object with which they vibrate in unison. It is quite possible, therefore, that this atmosphere of ours is full of such thought pulsations, both good and evil. Every thought projected from every brain goes on pulsating, as it were, until it meets a fit object that will receive it. One sec. Take a little water. Much better. Okay. Any mind which is open to receive some of these impulses will take them immediately. So, when a man is doing evil actions, he has brought his mind to a certain state of tension, and all the waves which correspond to that state of tension, and which may be said to be already in the atmosphere, will struggle to enter into his mind. That is why an evildoer generally goes on doing more and more evil. His actions become intensified. Such also will be the case with the doer of good. He will open himself to all the good waves that are in the atmosphere, and his good actions also will become intensified. We run, therefore, a twofold danger in doing evil. First, we open ourselves to all the evil influences surrounding us. Secondly, we create evil which affects others, maybe hundreds of years hence. In doing evil, we injure ourselves and others also. In doing good, we do good to ourselves and to others as well. And like all forces, and like all other forces in man, these forces of good and evil also gather strength from outside. Oh, yeah. And one true goddess says, makes you realize even more you are not your thoughts. Right. Huh. Well, while we're here in the body, we kind of are. That's what he's saying right now. Okay. And he's already said, which I was saying anyway, but then he backed me up. Thanks, Swami V. That this good and evil are simply the things that take you toward God or away from God, that take you toward union and away from union. And I'm pretty sure that just a lot of that might not always be such a set in stone thing, but I think for the most part, there's going to just be a lot of things that can very easily go into these categories for the majority of people. According to Karma Yoga, the action one has done cannot be destroyed until it has borne its fruits. No power in nature can stop it from yielding its results. If I do an evil action, I must suffer for it. There is no power in this universe to stop or to stay it. Similarly, if I do a good action, there is no power in the universe which can stop its bearing good results. The cause must have its effect. Nothing can prevent or restrain this. Now comes a very fine and serious question about karma yoga, namely that these actions of ours, both good and evil, are intimately connected with each other. We cannot put a line of demarcation and say, this action is entirely good and this entirely evil. There is no action which does not bear good and evil fruits at the same time. To take the nearest example, I am talking to you, and some of you perhaps think I am doing good, and at the same time I am, perhaps killing thousands of microbes in the atmosphere. I am thus doing evil to something else. When it is very near to us and affects those we know, we say that it is very good action, if it affects them in a good manner. For instance, you may call my speaking to you very good, but the microbes will not. The microbes you do not see, but yourself you do see. The way in which my talk affects you is obvious to you, but how it affects the microbes is not so obvious. And so, if we analyze our evil actions also, we may find that some good possibly results from them somewhere. He who in good action sees that there is something evil in it, and in the midst of evil sees that there is something good in it somewhere, has known the secret of work. But what follows from it? That, howsoever we may try, there cannot be any action which is perfectly pure, or any which is perfectly impure, taking purity and impurity in the sense of injury and non-injury. We cannot breathe or live without injuring others. Every bit of the food we eat is taken away from another's mouth. Our very lives are crowding out other lives. It may be men or animals or small microbes, but someone or other of these we have to crowd out. That being the case, it naturally follows that perfection can never be attained by work. We may work through all eternity, but there will be no way out of this intricate maze. You may work on and on and on. There will be no end to this inevitable association of good and evil in the results of work. The second point to consider is, what is the end of work? We find the vast majority of people in every country believing that there will be a time when this world will become perfect, when there will be no disease, nor death, nor unhappiness, nor wickedness. That is a very good idea, a very good motive power to inspire and uplift the ignorant. But if we think for a moment, we shall find on the very face of it that it cannot be so. How can it be, seeing that good and evil are the obverse and reverse of the same coin? How can you have good without evil at the same time? What is meant by perfection? A perfect life is a contradiction in terms. Life itself is a state of continuous struggle between ourselves and everything outside. Every moment we are fighting actually with external nature, and if we are defeated, our life has to go. It is, for instance, a continuous struggle for food and air. If food or air fails, we die. Life is not a simple and smoothly flowing thing, but it is a compound effect. This complex struggle between something inside and the external world is what we call life. So it is clear that when this struggle ceases, there will be an end of life. What is meant by ideal happiness is the cessation of this struggle. But then life will cease, for the struggle can only cease when life itself has ceased. We have seen already that in helping the world, we help ourselves. The main effect of work done for others is to purify ourselves. By means of constant effort to do good to others, we are trying to forget ourselves. This forgetfulness of self is the one great lesson we have to learn in life. Lowercase s, lowercase s self on that one. Man thinks foolishly that he can make himself happy. and after years of struggle finds out at last that true happiness consists in killing selfishness and that no one can make him happy except himself. Every act of charity, every thought of sympathy, every action of help, every good deed is taking so much of self importance away from our little selves and making us think of ourselves as the lowest and the least, and therefore it is all good. Here we find that Gyan, Bhakti, and Karma all come to one point. The highest ideal is eternal and entire self abnegation, where there is no I, but all is thou. And whether he is conscious or unconscious of it, karma yoga leads man to that end. A religious preacher may become horrified at the idea of an impersonal God. He may insist on a personal God and wish to keep up his own identity and individuality, which whatever he may mean by that. But his ideas of ethics, if they are really good, cannot but be based on the highest self abnegation. It is the basis of all morality. You may extend it to men or animals or angels. It is the one basic idea, the one fundamental principle running through all ethical systems. Hey, page 93, all right. And real quick, I'm trying to go through this chapter. I'm trying to fly through a little quicker without too many digressions, too many little things to say. But he said angels in there. He didn't say anything about demons, right? Because a lot of what these demons are doing is again bringing you material things, trying to trick you into material, just trying to mess with you. And even though, yep, you can work with them in the right and wrong ways, it's kind of refreshing because over the weekend I saw that a YouTuber I actually really like a lot, who is a more satanic, demonic type of practitioner, was talking about pacts, and he said how King Paimon wanted him to do a pact and wanted him to give him, I'm pretty sure it was weekly offerings of marigold. And rather than just say, okay, he straight up even said, oh no, I had to make sure I could even do that before agreeing to do that. And then turns out, oh, actually, where I live, marigold is really pretty hard to get. It's a pretty hard thing to come across. And I even checked again with the spirit and said, hey, is there anything else? And the spirit said, nope, it's got to be marigold. And so at that point, you say, that doesn't mean you say, okay, and then you struggle so hard to do it. You say, okay, I guess this ain't the way to go about it. And that's like the thing I said about my cat, too. And the spirit trying to say that with my cat. Not only did I say, yeah, not happening, but I even, where even I realized there's just got to be a better way, you know if I'm going to use magic to try to get money, then there's just got to be a way better way than to just instantly resorting to something like animal sacrifice. But yep, like I said already, some people will they'll run to get the knife. You will find various classes of men in this world. First, there are the God men, whose self abnegation is complete, and who do only good to others, even as the sacrifice of their own lives. These are the highest of men. If there are 100 of such in any country, that country need never despair. But they are unfortunately too few. Then there are the good men who do good to others so long as it does not injure themselves. And there is a third class who, to do good to themselves, injure others. It is said by a Sanskrit poet that there is a fourth unnameable class of people who injure others merely for injury's sake. Just as there are at one pole of existence the highest good men who do good for the sake of doing good, so at the other pole there are others who injure others just for the sake of injury. They do not gain anything thereby, but it is their nature to do evil. Here are two Sanskrit words. The one is pravritti, which means revolving towards, and the other is nivritti, which means revolving away. Yep, great book by the Bihar School of Yoga, The Paths of Pravritti and Nivritti. You would do well, it would be wise of you to also obtain and read that book and put into practice what you learn in that book. The revolving towards is what we call the world, the I and mine. It includes all those things which are always enriching that me by wealth and money and power, and name and fame, and which are of a grasping nature, always tending to accumulate everything in one center, that center being myself. That is the poverty, the natural tendency of every human being, taking everything from everywhere and heaping it around one center, that center being man's own sweet self. When this tendency begins to break, when it is nivriti, or going away from, then begin morality and religion. Both pravriti and nivriti are of the nature of work. The former is evil work, and the latter is good work. This nivriti is the fundamental basis of all morality and all religion, and the very perfection of it is entire self abnegation, readiness to sacrifice mind and body and everything for another being. When a man has reached that state, he has attained to the perfection of karma yoga. This is the highest result of good works. Although a man has not studied a single system of philosophy, although he does not believe in any God, and never has believed, although he has not prayed even once in his whole life, if the simple power of good actions has brought him to that state where he is ready to give up his life and all else for others, he has arrived at the same point to which the religious man will come through his prayers and the philosopher through his knowledge. And so, you may find that the philosopher, the worker, and the devotee all meet at one point, being self abnegation. However, much their systems of philosophy and religion may differ, all mankind stand in reverence and awe before the man who is ready to sacrifice himself for others. Here, it is not at all any question of creed or doctrine. Even men who are very much opposed to all religious ideas, when they see one of these acts of complete self sacrifice, feel that they must revere it. Have you not seen even a most bigoted Christian, when he reads Edward Arnold's Light of Asia, stands in reverence of Buddha, who preached no God, preached nothing but self sacrifice? The only thing is that the bigot does not know that his own end and aim in life is exactly the same as that of those from whom he differs. The worshipper, by keeping constantly before him the idea of God and a surrounding of good, comes to the same point at last and says, Thy will be done, and keeps nothing to himself. That is self abnegation. Not one drop. See, even Swami V. The philosopher, with his knowledge, sees that the seeming self is a delusion and easily gives it up. It is self abnegation. So karma, bhakti, and gyan all meet here. And this is what was meant by all the great preachers of ancient times when they taught that God is not the world. There is one thing there is one thing which is the world, and another which is God. And this distinction is very true. What they mean by world is selfishness. Unselfishness is God. One may live on a throne in a golden palace and be perfectly unselfish, and then he is in God. Another may live in a hut and wear rags and have nothing in the world, yet if he is selfish, he is intensely merged in the world. To come back to one of our main points, we say that we cannot do good without at the same time doing evil, or do evil without doing some good. Knowing this, how can we work? There have, therefore, been sects in this world who have, in an astoundingly preposterous way, preached slow suicide as the only means to get out of the world. Because if a man lives, he has to kill poor little animals and plants or do injury to something or someone. So, according to them, the only way out of the world is to die. The Jains have preached this doctrine as their highest ideal. This teaching seems to be very logical, but the true solution is found in the Gita. It is the theory of non attachment, to be attained to nothing while doing, or to be attached to nothing while doing our work of life. Know that you are separated entirely from the world, though you are in the world, and that whatever you may be doing in it, you are not doing that for your own sake. Highlight that last little bit before we turn the page. Any action that you do for yourself brings its effect to bear upon you. If it is a good action, you will have to take the good effect. And if bad, you will have to take the bad effect. But any action that is not done for your own sake, whatever it be, will have no effect on you. There is to be found a very expressive sentence in our scriptures embodying this idea. Even if he kills the whole universe, or be himself killed, he is neither the killer nor the killed, when he knows that he is not acting for himself at all. Therefore, Karma Yoga teaches, do not give up the world, live in the world, imbibe its influences as much as you can. Imbibe its influences as much as you can. But if it be for your own enjoyment's sake, work not at all. Enjoyment should not be the goal. First, kill yourself and then take the whole world as yourself. As the old Christians used to say, the old man must die. This old man is the selfish idea that the whole world is made for our enjoyment. Foolish parents teach their children to pray, O Lord, thou hast created this sun for me and this moon for me, as if the Lord has had nothing else to do than to create everything for these babies. Do not teach your children such nonsense. Then again, there are people who are foolish in another way. They teach us that all these animals were created for us to kill and eat, and that this universe is for the enjoyment of men. That is all foolishness. A tiger may say, man was created for me, and pray, O Lord, how wicked are these men who do not come and place themselves before me to be eaten. They are breaking your law. If the world is created for us, we are also created for the world. That this world is created for our enjoyment is the most wicked idea that holds us down. This world is not for our sake. Millions pass out of it every year. The world does not feel it. Millions of others are supplied in their place. Just as much as the world is for us, so we also are for the world. To work properly, therefore, you have first to give up the idea of attachment. Secondly, do not mix in the fray. Hold yourself as a witness and go on working. My master used to say, look upon your children as a nurse does. The nurse will take your baby and fondle it and play with it and behave towards it as gently as if it were her own child. But as soon as you give her notice to quit, she is ready to start off bag and baggage from the house. Everything in the shape of attachment is forgotten. It will not give the ordinary nurse the least pang to leave your children and take up other children. Even so are you to be with all that you consider your own. You are the nurse, and if you believe in God, believe that all these things which you consider yours are really His. The greatest wickedness or the greatest weakness often insinuates itself as the greatest good and strength. It is a weakness to think that anyone is dependent on me, and that I can do good to another. This belief is the mother of all our attachment, and through this attachment comes all our pain. We must inform our minds that no one in this universe depends upon us. Not one beggar depends on our charity, not one soul on our kindness, not one living thing on our help. All are helped on by nature, and will be so helped even though millions of us were not here. The course of nature will not stop for such as you and me. It is, as already pointed out, only a blessed privilege to you and me that we are allowed, in the way of helping others, to educate ourselves. This is a great lesson to learn in life, and when we have learned it fully, we shall never be unhappy. We can go and mix without harm in society anywhere and everywhere. You may have wives and husbands and regiments of servants and kingdoms to govern. If only you act on the principle that the world is not for you and does not inevitably need you, they can do you no harm. This very year, some of your friends may have died. Is the world waiting without going on for them to come again? Is its current stopped? No, it goes on. So drive out of your mind the idea that you have to do something for the world. The world does not require any help from you. It is sheer nonsense on the part of any man to think that he is born to help the world. It is simply pride. It is selfishness insinuating itself in the form of virtue. When you have trained your mind and your nerves to realize this idea of the world's non-dependence on you or on anybody, there will then be no reaction in the form of pain resulting from work. When you give something to a man and expect nothing, do not even expect the man to be grateful, his ingratitude will not tell upon you, because you never expected anything, never thought you had any right to anything in the way of a return. You gave him what he deserved. His own karma got it for him. Your karma made you the carrier thereof. Why should you be proud of having given away something? You are the porter that carried the money or other kind of gift, and the world deserved it by its own karma. Where is then the reason for pride in you? All right, let me get a little water before we move on. And we're making pretty good time on this, so that's good. There is nothing very great in what you give to the world. When you have acquired the feeling of non attachment, there will then be neither good nor evil for you. It is only selfishness that causes the difference between good and evil. Mhm. It is a very hard thing to understand, but you will come to learn in time that nothing in the universe has power over you until you allow it to exercise such a power. Nothing has power over the self of man until the self becomes a fool and loses independence. So, by non attachment, you overcome and deny the power of anything to act upon you. It is very easy to say that nothing has the right to act upon you until you allow it to do so. But what is the true sign of the man who really does not allow anything to work upon him, who is neither happy nor unhappy when acted upon by the external world? The sign is that good or ill fortune causes no change in his mind. In all conditions, he continues to remain the same. And that right there It's exactly why I say pay attention. There was a great sage in India called Vyasa. This Vyasa is known as the author of the Vedanta aphorisms and was a holy man. His father had tried to become a very perfect man and had failed. His grandfather had also tried and failed. His great grandfather had similarly tried and failed. He himself did not succeed perfectly, but his son Shuka was born perfect. Vyasa taught his son wisdom, and after teaching him the knowledge of truth himself, he sent him to the court of King Janaka. He was a great king and was called Janaka Videha. Videha means without a body. Although a king, he had entirely forgotten that he was a body. He felt that he was a spirit all the time. This boy Shuka was sent to be taught by him. The king knew that Vyasa's son was coming to him to learn wisdom, so he made certain arrangements beforehand. And when the boy presented himself at the gates of the palace, the guards took no notice of him whatsoever. They only gave him a seat, and he sat there for 3 days and nights, nobody speaking to him, nobody asking him who he was or whence he was. He was the son of a very great sage. His father was honored by the whole country, and he himself was a most respectable person. Yet the low, vulgar guards of the palace would take no notice of him. After that, suddenly, the ministers of the king and all the big officials came there and received him with the greatest honors. They conducted him in and showed him into splendid rooms, gave him the most fragrant baths and wonderful dresses. And for 8 days they kept him in there. Oh, they kept him there in all kinds of luxury. Uh, and Ronaldo, welcome back. Good to see you again. He says, hi, hello to you. Hopefully, you're having a good Monday, a good start to your week. That solemnly serene face of Shuka did not change even to the smallest extent by the change in the treatment accorded to him. He was the same in the midst of this luxury as when waiting at the door. Then he was brought before the king. The king was on his throne, music was playing and dancing, and other amusements were going on. The king then gave him a cup of milk, full to the brim, and asked him to go 7 times round the hall without spilling even a drop. The boy took the cup and proceeded in the midst of the music and the attention and the attraction of the beautiful faces. As desired by the king, 7 times did he go round, and did not dr- and did and not a drop of the milk was spilled. The boy's mind could not be attracted by anything in the world unless he allowed it to affect him. And when he brought the cup to the king said to him, what your father has taught you, and what you have learned yourself, I can only repeat. You have known the truth. Go home. Thus the man that has practiced control over himself cannot be acted upon by anything outside. There is no more slavery for him. His mind has become free. Such a man alone is fit to live well in the world. We generally find men holding two opinions regarding the world. Some are pessimists and say, how horrible this world is, how wicked. Some others are optimists and say, how beautiful this world is, how wonderful. To those who have not controlled their own minds, the world is either full of evil or at best a mixture of good and evil. This very world will become to us an optimistic world when we become masters of our own minds. Nothing will then work upon us as good or evil. We shall find everything to be in its proper place, to be harmonious. Hey, that's like what Radiohead said. everything. Ronaldo FJ says, truly moving words. The prospect I am getting from the current book studies are so special. Absolutely golden. Thank you, my brother. Awesome. Well, thank you for that feedback. I'm really glad to hear that they are benefiting you in your life. Some men who begin by saying that the world is a hell often end by saying that it is a heaven when they succeed in the practice of self control. If we are genuine karma yogis and wish to train ourselves to that attainment of this state, wherever we may begin, we are sure to end in perfect self abnegation. And as soon as this seeming self has gone, the whole world, which at first appears to us to be filled with evil, will appear to be heaven itself and full of blessedness. Its very atmosphere will be blessed. Every human face there will be God. Such is the end and aim of Karma Yoga, and such is its perfection in practical life. Our various yogas do not conflict with each other. Each of them leads us to the same goal and makes us perfect. And right, and so that's why I talk about if you're doing magic the right way, that's what should be going on, not just more of an inflation of the ego and just more nonsense, but now with I don't know this magical type of flavor to it. Only each has to be strenuously practiced. There you go. Each has strenuously practiced, not just intellectualized, not just kind of sort of. I've done a couple things here and there. Strenuously practiced. The whole secret is in practicing. First, you have to hear, then think, and then practice. This is true of every yoga. You have first to hear about it and understand what it is, and many things which you do not understand will be made clear to you by constant hearing and thinking. It is hard to understand everything at once. The explanation of everything is, after all, in yourself. No one was ever really taught by another. Each of us has to teach himself. The external teacher offers only the suggestion which rouses the internal teacher to work to understand things. Then things will be made clearer to us by our own power of perception and thought, and we shall realize them in our own souls. And that realization will grow into the intense power of will. First, it is a feeling, then it becomes willing. And out of that willing comes the tremendous force for work that will go through every vein and nerve and muscle until the whole mass of your body is changed into an instrument of the unselfish yoga of work. And the desired result of perfect self abnegation and utter unselfishness is duly attained. This attainment does not depend on any dogma or doctrine or belief. Whether one is Christian or Jew or Gentile, it does not matter. Are you unselfish? That is the question. If you are, you will be perfect without reading a single religious book, without going into a single church or temple. Each one of our yogas is fitted to make a man Each one of our yogas is fitted to make man perfect even without the help of the others, because they have all the same goal in view. The yogas of work, of wisdom, and of devotion are all capable of serving as direct and independent means for the attainment of moksha, which is liberation. Fools alone say that work and philosophy are different, not the learned. The learned know that, though apparently different from each other, they at last lead to the same goal of human perfection. And that does it. All right, then. Well, very good. And we did it in about an hour and a half, so that's not too bad at all. Cool. Well, then, yeah, we should finish up this book this week. for sure. Tomorrow we'll have this chapter entitled Freedom. And then after that, we'll have one more, which is going to be the ideal of karma yoga. So very good. Swami V, he'll get you. All right, you guys. Well, I don't think I really got too much to say to wrap it up. So I appreciate your presence. Kurt Ethnis, welcome in. If you stuck around, then cool. Otherwise, hopefully you are off to you're off and you're putting in those miles. One true goddess, thank you always for your contributions and your presence. And Ronaldo FJ, welcome back. I'm glad to hear that you're getting some very useful uses out of all of this. You guys, I hope that you have a good start to your week. I hope that the week stays good. Of course, in the sense that you quit resisting nature. See, Swami V saying it. Marcus Aurelius said it. Quit resisting nature. Oh my goodness, my cat. These kitties, man, they'll get you too, like Swami V. Just maybe in a different type of way. They're so funny. Anybody else's cat that'll just lay in spots, I don't know, they just find the funniest little spots for their hanging out and they're lounging about. Sweetest creatures. Most creatures are though. I don't know. I haven't ever owned creatures that could be considered like maybe unsweet. Perhaps you've had one. Maybe you had like a pet scorpion and it just stung you a bunch. Maybe you had like a pet snake and it bit you a bunch. I don't know. I've known people who have pets like that, and they still find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, as they say. So cool. I appreciate you all. I appreciate your presence here. Maybe that's what our Ten of Wands was, huh? The way we're going about this work is the wrong way. We're just causing oppression to ourselves, and that's why in the sphere of Malkuth, we're finding that our will is just shot all over all kinds of different ways. So let's reel it in. Let's reel it back in as we move forward into the week. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the rest of this book, and I'm looking forward to my contemplations of this book. Oh, Swami V, thank you. Thank you for finding your way into my life. And same with the rest of you, because your contributions to this channel certainly are wonderful in all type of ways. Much love to you all. This has been Jay Baldeo and Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. I will see you tomorrow, and bye-bye.